Ukraine calling it Trump, quote, giving a green light to Putin to attack them. A senior Ukrainian official tells our Jim Sciutto that just moments ago, after Trump announced to the world that Russia is about to retaliate against Ukraine. The president of the United States revealing details of his long 75-minute phone call with Vladimir Putin in a post that Trump actually deleted, but then he reposted it an hour later. We're unclear what the issue was or what he thought the issue was, but he says that the Russian leader told him after Ukraine's devastating strike on the Russian Air Force that there is no chance of a ceasefire. Now, today's call marks Putin's first direct response to the attack, although I suppose we should call it indirect because Trump is the one messengering it. Trump called it a, quote, good conversation, saying that Putin's message couldn't have been clearer. Trump tells us about the conversation, saying, quote, President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. Now, the president of the United States, let's be clear, not only announcing Putin's plans for retaliation and not condemning them at all, calling them an attack. This new video is into out front of key moments from the actual strike on those airfields. Ukraine's drones delivering that stunning blow to Russia. They obliterated, we're told, 41 of Putin's planes on the ground there. Let's just be clear. These are military targets. It's unmistakable that that these are the planes that Putin uses to drop bombs on civilians in Ukraine. Yet today, Trump calls Ukraine's act an attack and is just acting like it's completely normal and right for Putin to respond. No attempts by Trump's own account of the call. This is his account of the call to de-escalate it. Out front now, Kremlin target Andrei Soldatov. He's a Russian investigative journalist right now living in exile. He was declared a foreign agent in 2023. His website does remain blocked in Russia tonight. And Andrei, you are the author of the new book, Our Dear Friends in Moscow, The Inside Story of a Broken Generation. So, Andrei, Putin tells President Trump, this is Trump's description of it, very strongly, that he will respond to Ukraine taking out the bombers that he uses daily to bomb Ukraine. Putin then later, to his cabinet, calls Zelensky a terrorist. So what do you hear there in terms of what retaliation the world should prepare for?
Well, of course, this Ukrainian attacks was a big game changer, if not on the battlefield, but for the way Putin sees Russian national security. And well, he believes that he needs to respond, otherwise he would look really weak. And he wants to look really tough. The problem is that he doesn't want to provoke Trump. So what he wants to do is to get Trump on his side and to help him see the situation his way. And apparently it works.
Well, certainly the way Trump relayed the conversation, Trump did not express that he had said anything would be wrong with Putin doing that. That is certainly the case. And just to point out, Trump posted it, he pulled his post back, and then he posted it again. So, Andrei, there's talk tonight also of a Kremlin-led witch hunt, basically Putin looking for who may have, possibly helped Ukraine's attack. Do you have any idea right now from your reporting who the Kremlin is targeting?
Well, right now the idea is to accuse the Ukrainians of being terrorists, and that was the message of Putin at the meeting with the ministers. The problem was that the attacks on air forces coincided with the attacks on trains. So Putin wanted today to talk only about trains. He never mentioned Ukrainians' attacks on airfields, but nevertheless he made his point that all Ukrainians who attacked Russia were terrorists. And that is, of course, a very strong signal.
So, Andrei, your new book, I've got it here, Our Dear Friends in Moscow, The Inside Story of a Broken Generation. And in it, you've got this empty wine bottle here on the front. I mean, you talk about a breakdown in Russia. You write candidly about Putin's grip on the country. And you write about a moment that actually happened on Larry King. So this may surprise a lot of people. Vladimir Putin actually went on Larry King. And Larry King asked Putin about the Kursk submarine disaster, right? That was that horrific disaster and tragedy in which 118 Russian soldiers on board were killed, and that they had, desperately were tapping on the edge trying to be saved, and they died. It was a horrible thing. Here's the exchange between Larry King and Vladimir Putin.
What happened? You tell me. What happened with the submarine?
Она утонула. It sunk.
And then there's this pause and then that smile, Andre. You were watching that interview. You were in Russia with friends. And you write about the reaction in the room in your book. And you write this. You write, Putin's answer shocked us. Combined with his grin, it felt like the most cynical response that a president, a head of state, could possibly have to that state's failure to save its sailors. We could hardly believe what we'd heard him say. And then you continue to talk about someone in the room. You write, then Marina exploded. How dare this American ask Putin about Kursk in such a disrespectful way? Well done for Putin for cutting him off. That's our St. Petersburg way. Tell him to go F himself. And you say that night was probably the very first time it dawned on us that we didn't completely understand our friends. And now here we are, Andre. What is Putin's true standing right now in Russia as you see it?
Well, unfortunately, it's pretty strong, and it's built on the feeling which was shared by many Russians back in the late 1990s and the beginning of the 2000s, that the country was humiliated by the West, that the country needed a strong man to fix it. And the way to fix it is to stand well and to fight the Americans. So we've been always having this hate and love relationship between Russia and the United States, because Russia wanted to have this status of superpower, and Russia could get this status only from the United States. Lots of people understood that and still understand that, and it is in a way a basis of a huge support Putin still enjoys in the country.
Congressman, really appreciate your time. I want to start with the president's phone call with President Putin today. In his Truth Social post laying out kind of the top lines from that call, included that Putin, quote, very strongly will have to respond to Ukraine. I think what was striking about it was not that there's going to be a response. I think there's been an expectation of that, but that there was what wasn't in there was a condemnation of any potential action or an effort to try and get him to stop. Why do you think that was?
Well, I think throughout the president's term, he's been trying to get this conflict to end and to get Vladimir Putin to stop. Let's be very clear. Vladimir Putin is a vile dictator and thug. He is solely responsible for this conflict and what has happened over the last 3+ years and the death and destruction that has been wrought. And frankly, I thought it was extremely impressive what Ukraine was able to pull off the other day, and obviously the impact that it had on Russia's military equipment. So there is, obviously a real need for this conflict to come to an end. Obviously, the president has been trying over the last few months to get a negotiation between Russia and Ukraine to bring this to an end, because the reality is that we're basically at a stalemate here. Right. And the longer that this war persists, the more likely it is that Ukraine would ultimately collapse. And that would be catastrophic for Europe, for Eastern Europe, and the United States and our allies. So getting this conflict to an end is critical. I think, obviously, we need to do everything we can to deter Putin from taking any further action. However,
including congressional sanctions? Do you want more?
Look, I support enhanced sanctions. I am a co-sponsor of the legislation to do that. Frankly, that is something the Biden administration should have done right out of the gate. There should have been secondary sanctions. The Europeans should have ceased purchasing Russian gas. There's a lot that should have been done in the 3 years leading up to this administration taking over. But I certainly believe fundamentally that both this administration and Congress need to act. Vladimir Putin needs to be stopped dead in his tracks. And what he has done throughout the course of this 3-year war is nothing short of genocide.